Hello, chat. My name is Grayson Brock. I'm 21 years old and I'm from Texas. I have been on a very interesting journey exploring every single religion of the world. And ladies and gentlemen, I have spent hundreds of hours looking into this. And if you want my hundreds of hours condensed down into 10 minutes, well, this is the best edited video. God bless whoever made this video. This is my journey. I'm Grayson Brock. I'm 21 years old. I'm from Texas, just like you. I'm a kid like you. Let's watch this video.
You guys, I've been watching this,
Shut
seeing
up.
this
Shut up.
everywhere.
Me too.
Where this guy is, he read the Quran in one setting, and we actually sat down. I read it for an hour and a half. We're going to do more readings on it, but it's really interesting seeing it. And wow, so we'll just go ahead and watch a little video on it, and then we'll comment on it and see what's going on. So this is he spent 18 hours to expose the Quran by Sense of Muslim.
Prostration. Page 279. Alif Lam Mim. The revelation of the book, of which there is no doubt, is from the Lord of the universe. Did they say he has invented it himself, Muhammad? Surely it is the truth from your Lord that you may forewarn a people none has warned before you, and they may be rightly guided. All Muhammad was done was true. Muhammad was just warning. Muhammad was just warning.
In a video circulating on YouTube, a man does something out of the ordinary. This man, Grayson Brock, an American content creator, has made waves in the online world with his exceptional content. What he did this time isn't something typical. It's a journey that might transform his life in the future. The video on his YouTube channel documents his remarkable feat, reading an entire Holy Scripture in one sitting. This is not an easy task, as not everyone can accomplish it. However, what truly grabbed the public's attention was his decision to read the Quran in one go. In total, he spent 18 hours completing his reading.
True.
Tirelessly, he marked significant points on his body to track his progress and the parts that held special meaning to him during his reading of the Quran. After 18 long hours, Grayson finally completed his mission.
I remember this moment. I remember it.
From his reading of the Quran, he distilled 3 key insights
Look at her
that
smile.
were profoundly meaningful to him. First, the importance of reverence.
This is my friend Kurt in the back who fell asleep. Sorry. This is an important video and I'm just trying not to laugh.
Key insights that were profoundly meaningful to him. First, the importance of reverence and obedience to God without associating any partners with him. Second, the necessity of self-restraint from worldly desires and living in accordance with divine guidance. Third, the duty and virtue of being good to one's parents, as honoring one's parents is a core tenet of religious teachings.
I wrote these like 15 minutes ago because I got the themes of the book. The first one being to fear God. That is the first theme of this book. It is essentially having a deep respect for God. Number 2, don't follow your desires. This is a verse from the Quran. Happy shall be he that keeps himself pure. So don't just follow your desires, because following your desires might lead you to sin.
True.
And sinning is when you go against yourself. That's what sinning is.
Sinning is
That's
against
what
yourself.
says Sinning is. And lastly, this is from the Quran. Be kind to your parents.
Even though he's
Mashallah.
a Christian,
Beautiful.
Grayson has a penchant for venturing into uncharted territories without hesitating to step out of his comfort zone. Initially, he harbored unfavorable biases about Islam, influenced by media portrayals and his social milieu. During his Quranic reading, he anticipated stumbling upon verses related to terrorism and violence. However, he was taken aback by what he encountered. Instead, he unearthed the beauty inherent within the Quran, going as far as describing it as the most serene thing he had ever encountered.
I read the entire Quran in one sitting as a white boy, Christian, and I was shocked because, and I can prove that I read the whole thing because you can see the video right there, but I was shocked because I thought it was going to be like really evil and about, I don't know, terrorism, and it was actually amazing. And the most peaceful thing I've, like, after finishing, I was
She
just like,
she
wow.
looks so happy.
I feel like I've had some questions answered about life. It literally says ward off evil with good. Where did this notion come from that people think Islam is very like evil and aggressive and angry?
The
Maybe it's
news.
because the news. I think it's because the news. Everything is from the news is fake. The news is fake. We gotta stop watching the news.
Although he had dedicated his life to studying the Bible, reading it in its entirety gave him a fresh perspective. He was taken aback by the severe acts depicted in the Old Testament, which he found crazy. When he turned to the Quran, he noticed significant shared values between Islam and Christianity. The Quran's profound depth and intensity impressed him, despite its smaller size compared to the Bible. Conversely, Grayson felt that modern Christianity has strayed from its roots. This realization led him to contemplate Jesus' warning about a divided kingdom's inevitable downfall.
I just read the entire Bible and the entire Quran. When I read the Bible, I was surprised at how violent it was. I've been studying the Bible my whole life, but reading all the way through, like the Old Testament is crazy. And I also, reading the Quran made me realize that the values that Muslims share with Christians, or that they do share values, like pretty much everything is the exact same. Islam and the Quran is just a much more to the point. It's 1/10 of the size of the Bible, so it's only 10%. Much more clear cut, as you can kind of tell, like in Arabic and Muslim culture, they're more strict. All right.
Straight to the point.
There's no
That's what it is.
bullshit, basically. They
Bullshit.
don't
Straight to the
mess
point.
around with all this time, and you don't disrespect the Prophet Muhammad, and you don't disrespect Islam. Although Christianity feels like it's not really standing for much anymore, because now it's just like so loose and everywhere. And Jesus said, a kingdom divided will fall.
Additionally, he reflected on the Bible's teaching that blasphemy against God is the only act that brings about God's wrath. In his view, this blasphemy occurs when someone places anything above God, which he regarded as a severe sin. He began to understand that worshiping a human being as God is the most blatant form of blasphemy. This realization made him more critical of the concept of divinity in Christianity. He saw that in practice, Christianity was no longer strictly monotheistic, but had shifted towards idolatry, with Jesus at its center. The commandment against idol worship is reiterated many times. Nevertheless, he observed that Christians still violate this commandment. They venerate statues and accept various widespread misconceptions.
The Bible even says that blasphemy against God is the only thing you can do to not earn God's favor, to not get into heaven. You put yourself or you put something else in front of God. And I started to realize worshiping a human as God seems blasphemous to God. Christianity is not monotheistic. It's about an idol. It's about worshiping Jesus. Worshiping Jesus, to me, it's blasphemous because you're really worshiping yourself. You're worshiping another human, thinking that you can be perfect like the human. That does not make sense. All I can say, guys, is monotheism makes sense. Monotheism is the only thing that makes sense. Monotheism is within this book. You can read it in the Old Testament. They warn, the entire Old Testament is warning God's people over and 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 over. The entire Old Testament, which is like 3/4 of the Bible. The entire Old Testament is do not put anything before God. Do not put any idols before God. Do not worship made idols. Don't do it. And they did it. They did it. They're statues. Oh, there is lies out there. There is lies.
Additionally, he pointed out that it is commonly known Jesus spoke in Aramaic. He previously cited a prayer from the Bible where Jesus instructs his disciples how to pray to God. What struck him was the realization that Jesus himself prayed to God, and suggesting that Jesus was not God.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth that is in heaven. That's the Christian prayer, and Jesus told his disciples how to pray. And it starts out with our Father. Jesus was worshiping God. And Jesus spoke Aramaic. You know how he said God, how you say God in Aramaic? Look it up. Allah.
This is how Jesus prayed.
This just might be the only religion left. The only monotheistic religion left. Truly monotheistic. Monotheistic means following the one creator, one.
intuitively everyone knows that there must be one. We must have come from one source, and that
That's
source is the truth. And that truth is God. That's the idea of God, is that it's the truth. The truth that you can go all the way back to.
that's how Jesus
Yeah,
prayed.
that video is interesting because during when we started researching and looking up all different kinds of religions, we did a lot of videos on Hinduism, about Vedanta, and I actually do have a couple videos coming up on that topic. But we did videos on that, and we also did videos on Christianity. We learned about all different religions, and then what we basically were thinking, because throughout spirituality and throughout our spiritual growth and our journeys, what I came to realize is that, number one, I never worshiped Jesus like God or like a God. I always viewed Jesus as my brother. So I always would see Jesus as my brother and then God as our father. And what I always viewed Jesus as was he was closer to God than like basically almost anyone, because, you know, he was spiritually inclined. He had that love in his heart. He was chosen by God, and he was basically one of the best versions that you can be in humanity. So through that, and because
I
of that,
agree.
he was closer to God than just the average person back then that was murdering people or, you know, just doing bad stuff and just, you know, not living by the rules that God set. So that's how I always view Jesus. So then whenever I realize in Islam, they view Jesus in basically the same way, that's when I was like, whoa.
He's a prophet.
So from my
That's the
perspective,
Islamic view.
I view everything as energy. For lack of a better term, lack of a better word, the English language isn't complicated enough to describe the greatness of God. But I view everything essentially as energy and cannot be created nor destroyed. So God, in my opinion, cannot be created nor destroyed. It just is. God just
It's
is.
just, I am.
And I believe that if you break everything down, a human being, a body, whatever, this table, anything, if you break it down, it's just going to be energy, which is what God is created of, because God created us. So God created us in his image, as it says. So we are all energy. So in my perspective, we are all a part of God. We are not God. We are not gods, but we are all a part of God, in my opinion, the way that I view the world. We are all a part of God. So that's what's interesting to it to me. But when I pray, I'm praying to God. Whenever I'm doing things, I go to God.
Oh, yeah.
And you can recognize the divinity within yourself, connecting and bringing God within you, because I don't believe God is limited. I believe God can be anywhere in anything because God created everything. God is everything, in my opinion. So the closer you bring God to you and within you, that is how miracles happen. That is how you heal. That is how you do greatness in this world, by bringing God in. Because God gave you the free will to choose to do this or to do that, to let God in or to not let God in. You can do whatever you want. I chose to let God in, so I created a miracle within my body, defeating stage 5 kidney disease that they said is impossible to defeat. I did it by recognizing the divinity within me through God, not through me. I have divinity within me because God is within me. That is what people need to understand. It's not about worshiping myself. It's about worshiping God through me.
Oh my gosh, bro.
Because God
This is a speech.
inside of me. I'm letting God in. So that is how I cured an incurable disease, by letting God in, and then God does the work.
Absolutely.
Bro, yes, bro. W's in the chat.
Absolutely made a miracle of
Bro, W's in the chat. He's right.
this earth happen. And we know 100% fact it
Gotta
only
do some
happens
push-ups.
by growing a closer relationship with God. And
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how one of the main core principles he found in the Quran is that we should detach, essentially be detached from the worldly things. We all know them, the sins and the desires and the materials. Lust, exactly.
Greed.
Envy, just hedonism.
Envy, greed, yeah, all that.
And that is truly across every philosophical belief, religion, etc. Like even Buddhism, of course, they don't associate it with being necessarily evil and shaitan, etc. But that is also a huge principle for them as well. So what does that mean? That we can all agree on that? That this life is a test, right? Like, why would we be here surrounded by things that we're not supposed to give into and we're constantly bombarded with it, right? So this life is a test. We're meant to grow. What does a test do? It grows you, it evolves.
It's a test.
That's what this life is all about. And we can all agree that we have the option to go the path of God, which will steer us away from all that, or we can go towards that path of those worldly things, the attachment. And what does that mean, right? Like, even the concept of the angel on the devil, the devil on the shoulder, the angel on one shoulder, you know? And you can make a decision. It's essentially two ends of the spectrum. You can go this way, you can go that way, right? And we have to understand that, yes, the energy of God with your feelings, your thoughts, your actions, and your emotions, you are letting God in, because that is the essence of the being. We all know the concept of someone who is soulless, right? You can be around someone who it's like soulless, right? Because that is the essence of the being. We all know the concept of someone who is soulless, right? You can be around someone who it's like they're soulless. It's like they're gone. It's like they sold their soul. It's like they have no attachment to their soul and they totally went the other way, right? That's a real energy that we can pick up on. And what does that mean? It means they don't have God in them. They decided to push God out. It's that concept of being soulless. But we also know those people who are full of soul, who are full of God, who will go around making miracles, who will go around and their presence alone lightens up your world. You can have one conversation with them and you're forever changed.
Yeah.
Their eyes are bright. Their life is bright. Just everything about them is bright, bright, bright. And they are going through God. And one of the main ways that God comes to us is our heart and our dreams, truly, because yes, this life is a test, but we all have a purpose. We all have a purpose and a path that is clear, that God gave us, that makes our way out of it, and that allows us to make this world a little better. That is why we're here. And we all have those things on our heart that we feel like we should do, and it's full of passion, and it's full of emotion, and it's full of excitement. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't follow it. And I wish everybody would follow the dream on their heart, because that is the direct line to God, what God's purpose is for you to do. And these are just several examples of how God can be within you. And I know it's something that people don't understand, but we're not going to change our minds on this because we've lived through it. And the more we let God in our lives with our emotions, our thoughts, our actions, worshiping Him alone, the greatest thing ever in our lives happen. So,
wow, amen. God bless her soul. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Absolutely beautiful, Kelly. I mean, you were spitting facts right there. And that's how God works through us, because when I'm talking, when you get to a point where you're so close with God, everything you say, everything you do, you're doing it for God. Everything you say is for God. God works in mysterious ways. Sometimes you're going to feel inclined to do one thing over another, then it leads you to something even bigger, better, greater than you could have ever imagined.
Oh, absolutely.
So I feel energized. I feel powerful, Kelly. This is a beautiful day. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for donating. We love you all. Stay tuned for what happens next. I promise you, every cent counts. Every dollar.
Wow. What an amazing video. And I love their reaction. I love what he said about him beating stage liver cancer. He had cancer, I think he said, and they told him it was incurable, and he didn't believe it. He found God in himself, and he knew that God could help him overcome it. That's powerful. Chat, you guys are not even opening your ears. You need to listen. Just hear them out for a sec. Kelly, I think that's her name. God bless both of you, and I'm glad you guys reacted to my video. I hope you're seeing this now. I want to say thank you. And wow, what Kelly said too, following your dreams, following that, God is like there, like go towards it. Don't fear, go towards it, go towards it, go towards it. Submission to the will of God, I believe, is the only thing that will actually fulfill us in the long run. Because when you submit to the will of God, You submit to the fact that you are not in control of everything. However, you can control a lot. You can control your mind. You can control your physique. I mean, to a certain extent. But when you submit to the will of God, when you put your face on the floor and you do what Jesus would do, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? Jesus prayed on his face. But if you pray on your face, people like, oh, that's a Muslim prayer. No. That's how Jesus prayed. And yes, Jesus was submitting to the will of God when he prayed on his face. And what it means to submit to the will of God, let's translate that into another language. Submit to the will of God. Let's translate that into Arabic. Arabic is another language spoken in the Middle East. Let's translate submit to the will of God into another language. What does it translate to? Islam. That's just a word. That means submit to the will of God. And someone who does Islam, someone who does that action, is a Muslim. So it's not an evil word. And Allah is what Christians say in Arab-speaking countries. Allah is just a word for God. I think we should stop arguing so much with each other, and instead we should put our face on the floor.
Put our face on the floor and worship God alone. Like this. This is how Jesus prayed in the Bible. He said he fell on his face. And you hear Muslims do this, and they say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. That's what Christians who speak Arabic say too. It just means God is great, God is greater. Whatever you can think of, God is greater. What is God? God is the creator of the universe. Or that's at least the belief of God. Because I know that I came from my mom, God bless her. My mom came from her mom, God bless her. And let's go back and 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 what's the beginning? What's the seed of the universe? What is it? What is this energy? Energy can be created or destroyed. So why is anything here? If nothing can be created or destroyed, why are we here? How did we get here? It doesn't make sense. The only answer is there must be something outside of it that went bang, bang, the Big Bang, bang. What is that? Bang, God, bang, God, God. Jesus told his disciples to pray to God, to our Father. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Bang. Our Father. Putting your face on the floor is going to be the only solution that will save humanity from all the nonsense that we're being perpetuated. We're being told lies. We're being told to be gay. Every single day I'm told to be gay. Everywhere I go, everyone's telling me to be gay. None of us would exist if both your parents weren't straight. There's so many lies that are being perpetuated by the news. It's all freaking fake. Go look at things yourself, guys, and your eyes will be opened. The divinity is within you if you just realize it. Look at your eye. You're divine.